Shout out to the creators in the world. This is MVP with Juxtaposed, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to give you insight into us being creators, the life, the motivation, and everything that encompasses it. Stay tuned.
What's up? Welcome back to Juxtapose, your favorite podcast. Today, as MVP is set up for us, is that we're going to talk about the
Mhm.
life and times of being a creator in this very, very different time. It's a time where it's not as shunned to even think about going down this route. You
That's
know,
true.
back in the day when you're like, yeah, I wanna make videos. Your parents were like, no, bro. take Go to school,
Take
and
academics.
yeah, you're gonna be a doctor.
Learn.
You're gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. And it's like no shade into those things. It's like, but at the same time, you could do something else. People are Content is such a big thing, a big part of our lives now. Like that's a thing. So
That's true.
um this is going to be something we're very passionate about because this is like fitting our perfect, like we are the demographic that we are talking to. So it's going to probably, we're going to try to keep it not too long winded because we could talk about this all day. This could be on record. This could probably be our longest podcast. I'm saying it now, but we're not going to do that. We're going to just try to keep it, keep it to the point. So,
Yeah, concise, whatever that word means.
I mean, I think about it this way. I've been at like different iterations of like my content creation past for a long time. Started off doing mostly music production, video production, and I remember actually one reason that really pushed me to video production was somebody in my family was like, "You're always talking about music. What are you doing with music? Da da da. You need to do something else." And found this, what you call it? I found an internship that was like, "Hey, let's show you how to edit documentaries and stuff like that." So that I did like 4 documentaries in that program. And the funny thing about it, it was like music and video is very similar, as far as my editing standpoint. So I was always like, oh, I got over on them because they thought I was doing something different. But I was doing the same thing and just making music for, like, I made music for every one of those documentaries. But what do you say, like, what do you think right now is like the hardest part for you as a creator? And I'm gonna throw that question over to you.
I'm glad you asked. So, the hardest part for me is going about it with people not really caring what you're doing, right? Let me explain. Because no shade to anybody. But the thing about creating, the key word to creator is create, right? And it's hard for people to really grasp what you're trying to do if they don't know what that is, right? Because as you're creating, you don't even know what that is. You're throwing something on the canvas and creating, hopefully, a masterpiece, mwah, right? And so the hardest part for me is getting the buy-in from people to say, "Hey, I'm creating this thing. Believe in me, believe in the creation, and support," right? And doing that over the years, because like you mentioned, the internship, right? So I've been creating for quite a bit. It started as a small pebble, and now it is a boulder, right? The type of boulder I believe is like Greek mythology. The dude who has the boulder on the shoulders and he's walking around with it. That type of boulder is huge,
Hmm.
right? And one of the things that's hard is staying on the path, right? Especially when you have downfalls, when you have doubt. And now, I, I can give you more words, but I want to kind of like go back and forth with you, style. So,
Hmm.
with me saying that, have you ever experienced those type of feelings? And we're talking about feelings, getting your feels, okay? We're talking about feelings today, guys. If you don't want to talk about your feelings, get out of here.
No, no,
Right?
no,
No, no,
no,
please stay,
no,
stay,
no,
stay, stay.
stay. No. Whoa,
No,
hold
stay.
on. Whoa,
Hold on.
what are you
What?
doing? What are you doing?
Kicking people
No.
out the house. Hold on, hold on. You come back, come back,
Yeah.
come back. My bad, my bad, my
Um,
bad.
no, honestly, that is it's the feelings part of it is the hardest thing. It's like I look at, people who have that iron will, and they 9 times out of 10 they're successful, and sometimes the success takes forever, right? But like, I think of, especially like the music part for me has always been such a freaking struggle, because um the people you're around also help or they hold you back, right? And I think at one point,
Mm,
I was around people who wanted me to stay in one lane. Like there's one dude who, like, I was big supporter of him as a musician. Like, I'm talking about, like, we put money behind his project and everything, and he was like, "Oh no, you need to just produce. Don't worry about like uh uh you know, actually making music and rapping, just produce, because it was beneficial for him." And you hear that a bunch of times, it starts to get to you. I think when you're going down this route, the goal is that you have to be very sure that you want to get to the next level and never fail, never stop. Don't stop. Like, don't quit, don't back down. Because one of the things I remember, my aunt always used to say, like, if you take time off of school, you're never gonna go back. And it's the same principle. If you
hmm.
slow down on any of these things, and life's gonna throw you a curveball, but if you slow down and say, "Oh, you know what? I'll pick it up later," it's gonna be 4 times harder. So you got, if you want to be, a podcaster, if you want to be a musician, if you want to be an artist, you have to carve out the time and do it. If you don't do it, or slow down, or you try to get into it later, you're gonna look around and years are gonna pass, and you're probably not gonna be where you want to be. Um,
And I feel like a big part of that is the internal doubt, right?
mhm,
Because I've been in situations where, because I do music as well, um, and I've been in situations where I stopped doing music because of the doubt. I'm like, nobody's really listening to it, right? Nobody really cares, right? Obviously, I care, so I'm making the music, but I did slow down, especially when I was like, maybe the reason because of people not banging with it is because it's not where it's supposed to be yet, right?
mhm.
And that is one of the big things I think about as being a creator is, oh man, what's dude name? We gotta give him a shout out, man. Keep putting your mixtape out.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, LOA.
LOA, right? So keep putting your mixtape out could be applied to many things in my mind. When I heard him say that, I was like, yo, this can be applied to many things, not just music, right? But it sparked it for me, far as
Mhm,
music. And I'm like, even if there is doubt, even if it's not at the quality that you think it should be at, you still have to try your best. Like, don't half ass it, I would say, right?
yeah,
Don't half ass it. But you don't have to be a perfectionist with it, right? What you're creating, it may take a while to get it to the best it can be. But I really didn't have those thought processes when I was younger, right?
yeah.
I was creating and, with my friends and stuff like that. And one thing I would say though, I did have people around me at the beginning who were about that type of time as well. And so I do think it's important to keep people around you that will support you. But if you don't get that support, stay on the path, right?
Yeah.
Don't, don't, like you said, just stop and leave it alone for a while because it's going to be hard. It's even like working out, right? You start working out and then it's hard to get back on it.
Yeah.
So you just you have to stay on the path, man.
The thing is, and the thing unto that point too, that is even harder. Like, when you do stop, like, because you know what, life's gonna happen. When you do stop
True.
and you have to go back to it, the hardest thing to figure out is how to do it and with the same zest. Because you said, I'll
Zest.
explain why. For
Zesty.
me, and I tell you, I tell you what, like, my struggles right now. Like, I have
Okay.
not produced anything from a music standpoint in the last, like, probably 6 months. And you're gonna have droughts. From As a musician, there's gonna be times when you have droughts. Like, there's just like, no matter what you do, there's gonna be droughts. But it's not because of a drought. It has been because, like the same love for it isn't there because of I felt like I've done a lot and it's not necessarily gotten there. And my focus has been elsewhere. The thing about it that when you're going back to it the second time after doing it for such a long time, you feel like you're starting over. And a lot of people don't
Mm,
necessarily take starting over with like, oh, yeah, man, I'm just gonna throw myself at it again. Because you go at it saying, okay, well, bro, I already know all of this stuff. I should be able to just pick it up and go again. But if you used to freaking deadlift 400, you don't work out for a year, you're not deadlifting 400 no more, right? It just
hold on, real quick.
that's a
Sorry,
lot. I
Styles.
went to the big number.
Nah, ha- can you have you been able to do
I
that,
have not done 400.
bro?
I have not. But my point is the work you did to get to 400 is
Okay.
very high. That's why I chose that number because
Hmm.
the work you did to 400 is very high for you then to say, okay, well, I'm just going to do it after not doing it. And that I'm sure there's a actual description for that feeling, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I think that the biggest thing, the hardest thing there is dealing with that. So that feeling after you've already gone through it. So that's why my advice is to not to stop and you literally find a way to do it in a way where that works with your time, your life. All the different things that's come up. Like life is gonna constantly throw you curveballs. Um,
I wanna piggyback off that, and this is where like being a friend and coworker, you have to help me out, right? So I understand that life happens, but sometimes I do be like, yo, man, forget this, right? Forget the creative part. Like, I need to get this money. I need to take care of my family. You know what I mean? And I'm like, especially when you're coming from a creator standpoint where you're not actually making any money,
yeah,
but you are spending sweat, tears,
and money.
and money.
And money, bro.
Maybe a little blood, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you
Yeah.
tripped and fell when you had the camcorder and you was video recording. You might have tripped and fell and busted your elbow a little bit. Anything can happen. So, but all of this is for you. Like you want to do this, right? Nobody is saying, hey. So it's different when like you're hired to do it, right? But when it's just you and you're like, hey, I want to do this. I'm gonna go do this, and then life happens. I feel like it's hard. It's super hard to tell yourself, hey, believe in yourself. This is going to work out. All these trials and tribulations. Ooh, I like that. Trials and tribulations is going to affect you, but you have to stay on it. And I guess why I'm bringing it up now with you, Styles, is like, how do you stay on it, man? Like, it's it's tough. I feel like.
You know what? I think one of the best things that you can have in a lot of cases is that I'm going back to the community, right? Like that
Hmm.
community of people is important. Like one of the things like we're gonna be name dropping a lot of people this episode, but like some of the friends that I have, like Juxtaposed has gone through a lot of changes, and on our first initial release, we had one of our co-hosts name was a Breezy, and I was talking to her
Shout out
recently.
Breezy.
Yeah, I was talking to her recently because I was telling her like my struggles with everything I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm going in so many different directions and trying to multitask and doing a bunch of stuff. And she told me straight up, it's like, yo, first of all, stop multitasking. Put something on your list, complete that thing and finish it, right? And then go
Yeah.
on to the next thing. And honestly, did I know that at some point? Yes. But like you get lost in the day to day of doing things, and you're like
Hmm.
having those people to go to when you're in that mode, and you're able to then say, okay, well, no, they know your heart, they know what you're trying to do, and they're like, slow, like pick a lane and focus on that. Having that kind of
Hmm.
advice from people in your inner circle is important. So like if you have people around you that are just like, they want their own thing and they're not even you can't have like what I say vulnerable conversations about how you spend your time. You
Hmm.
have to change your circle, especially now, especially when you're doing this, man, because there's so many people that can align themselves with wanting to do something creative And there are other people who don't, right? There's some people who just want to chase a check or only they go to work every day and that's their whole thing. And you know what? I'm not knocking them because I live in that life too, where I'm like, I got bills and I gotta pay for the dreams. So I gotta spend time at work and do this. But like having that circle is important. Having the people you could talk to and being open to the information, right? Because sometimes the information comes in places where you don't expect it.
I I'm right with you. We here, we
Mm-hmm.
vibing, right? So my thing is, if you're gonna have people in the circle, right? I would say this out to people, and I like to when I say this, I like to be this person as well. Keep it real.
Yeah.
Keep it 1000. It does not help your friends who are out here doing what they do. It does not help when you sugarcoat and kind of like don't give them the feedback that they're asking for, right? N- I feel like
I
you're gonna say
I got
something.
something, but you go ahead. Go ahead.
So obviously, it's their passion. So don't be disrespectful, right? But don't be a yes man either, right? Because from Breezy, she's saying, "Hey, stop multitasking." So you could say that to somebody, and they'd be like, "Nah, I'm gonna keep multitasking. I don't have enough time. I gotta." Da, da, da." But you being able to be like, "Okay, take that advice, understand it, analyze it, and apply it when you can," is good. But if you didn't have that person in the circle
Yeah.
who's doing that, oh, they'd be like, "Oh man, just shake it off. You'll be all right." And I'm like, yes. But could you give me a little bit more? I need a little. Don't just say, yeah, yeah, you're all right, you're good, you're amazing, you do it. I'm like,
You
yes,
gotta
I am amazing.
yeah.
But help, like, give me the put the battery in my back, please. You
Well,
know what I mean?
honestly, but my rebuttal to you is like
Mhm.
you got to control your own battery, right? Because the truth of the matter is
Mm.
all of these inputs like you get from other people or whatever are just data points for you to say, okay, well, yes, I agree with this point. I'm gonna use this. If not, I'm not going to. The reason being is you are on your own journey yourself.
This is true.
I can literally sit here MVP and tell you you need to do this da 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 da, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work exactly for you. I can give you just the framework for certain things. I can tell you I did it this way so that you know when you're thinking about doing something, you can say, okay, well, K Style said he did it this way, so let me try it this way, but that doesn't mean to be my way. And I think that's one of the hardest things for creators because also sometimes we fall into the trap of asking people who never done what we did, never have any idea what it's like to be back in this, to be in this seat, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's music, artists, like all of this, even the creator, bro, an athlete. We don't, like that's a perfect example. Like people could tell you, oh, you're never gonna get to the league, you're never gonna beat da da da, but like you never did it. And I remember Jay Z said that in one time. He's like, my uncle said I never sell a million records. I sold a million records like a million times, and he was saying when he described it in the story, he was like, I don't think he meant any malice. I don't think he meant like, oh, you're not gonna make it, you're never gonna make it, you're a failure. But a lot of times people are projecting their own insecurities onto you. So you have to be very careful of where you source that information from. And 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with people who are not going through the same struggles, they may be able to give you some kind of information, but you got to be very careful because they might tell you like what you do with that information because they might tell you, you know what, man, I had people tell me, oh, you're over 30 trying to do music, man. Are you wasting your time? And I'm like, what does the age have to do with it, right? Like, what does age have to do with music? People are releasing music. How old was Two Chains? I had to call Two Chains out because everybody talks about the age thing. Because music, especially from a hip hop standpoint, it was a young man's sport, but it's not anymore. Like some of the biggest players for a long time were older people because it's grown up. Hip hop is grown up. So
Right.
that's my. I mean, I kind of went off on that, but
No,
like,
no, I don't want you to leave.
yeah,
Stay,
no.
please.
But
So
I think I really do think that it's important that you use it as a data point rather than saying that this person's opinion is true. So like to your thing where you're like, oh well, yeah, like keep it real, but like that person keeping it real doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about. Like, for example, the person who's like, yo, you need to stick to producing. At the core of it, I think he was intimidated by the fact that I could rap, I could make music, I could do video, I could do all the things that he can do. He could only rap. So then he's telling me I need to do one thing. No, I want to do multiple things. I need to find a way to do it best for me. And that's the one thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
So
You're
look,
feeling the
look,
passion,
look,
bro.
look, 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 the chest out, baby. The chest out. So my thing is, I respect that, right? But I do think there has to be balance. And that's what I wanted to say. So I'll give you an example of balance, right? I grew up being taught that, hey, have the thing that you want to do, right? Have the thing that you want to do, but go to school and have the backup plan, right? There's a balance because I remember Will Smith was like, hey, I think it's his grandmother. I'm gonna say his grandmother. Don't quote me on this. Is it his grandmother or mother? But she was like, hey, go to school. Don't do the rapping thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she found the balance. She said, hey, we gonna give, I think him and his father,
Mm-hmm.
mother, grandmother, they're like, hey, we're gonna give you 2 years. Pursue what you want to do. If it doesn't work out, go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
That's the balance, right? And so when you say, hey, this person is coming from a place where they like, I'm pretty sure his parents and grandmother never rapped.
Mm-hmm.
They never kicked the freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a balance of them keeping it real because the realness is everybody doesn't make it. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't make it, right? And so even with me, as passionate as I am about my creative process and the things I like to be like into, my talents and all that stuff, I always work on the career part. Always. Now, balance, right? So I'm saying this from my point of view. So whoever feels differently, that's your perspective. And that's what I'm saying with people. Like, you have to understand the balance of like, hey, take what you're hearing and apply it to yourself in a way that makes sense for you, right? And that's all I would say. So when we go back to like the guy with the rapper guy, da, 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 he might be coming from a standpoint of he's seen people not make it.
Yeah, but that's assuming that everybody's coming into it with like um trustworthy intentions. And that's the thing. That's why I
Ah,
was like, everybody's
okay.
important. Everybody, even us. Like, if you're listening to this thing and you're saying, "Well, they don't know what they're talking about,"
Mhm.
it's all data points. It's all for you to say, "Okay, well, this person, it kind of, like, let me listen to what they're talking about." Like, because the hard thing is, I've heard people say, "Don't have a backup plan. Don't have a
Hold
backup
up.
plan."
You've
No,
heard
because
people say don't have a
I've
backup plan?
because if plan A don't work, then we're gonna continue in plan A, right? Like, and the thing about but this is the truth, and that's everybody has to think about how they go about it. If you
Mhm.
are if you have like this definitive, I'm gonna make it at this, and it doesn't matter what happens with anything else, I'm gonna make it. It may take you long, but you also have to be very clear about what success looks like. Because
Mm.
making
Okay.
it can be like, oh, I want to make money off of music. I want to make money off of podcasting. I want to make money off my art. That could be making it. You can be I want to make the same amount of money I make at my day job at my side hustle slash creative thing. That is success. I think we've always put success as this. You are the top 5 dead or alive, and it's like there's
I'm kind of
stages to
sick
it.
of that, yo. I'm kind of
But you
sick of that.
can't. But realistically, you can. You can strive to attain that, but you got to know what you're giving up. And this one goes back to our curse of ambition conversation.
Okay.
You got to know what you're willing to give up. If you're willing to give up family, you're willing to give up, stability of your money, stability of all these things, because this is you have the zest for freaking making it.
All
Then
right. So hold on. Sorry. If you're listening or watching, every time you hear zest or
yes,
zesty,
I don't
take a
know.
drink of
I
water.
I don't know
What?
about zesty. I will not be
No,
using
no,
zesty.
you won't
No,
be.
I won't be
Okay,
using zesty.
zest. because I heard
Zest.
zest twice now.
Yeah, zest is
So
the word.
if you're down 2 drinks, you need to catch up. All
Yeah.
right, go ahead.
But yeah, no, I think that if you think and if you listen to like very like successful people, like people give Steve Harvey crap, but I listen to his story and I'm like, this guy was gonna make it he was gonna make it regardless, right? Like the way he was about it and he went about it, he was gonna
I
make
mean,
it.
did you see the suits?
Well,
Of course,
but
he's gonna make it.
but forget about the suits.
The
Like,
suits,
did
come
you
on,
hear his
bro.
story where he literally said he was like living in his car and he was in Florida and he had to, he was trying to figure out how to whether or not he should quit or not, and literally it was one of those
Quit
things,
what?
quit comedy, like doing anything. And
Oh,
he's like,
okay.
because he's like living in his car. He was like, trying to figure it out. So he had to get he got called for a show that was like not far away. He drove, and then when he got on his answering machine, he's like, you have to get to the Apollo in New York. And this whole story, I mean, I think I try to find the link and put it in the description of this. But it's just like when you hear him describe his story, there was no plan B. There was no plan B, right? So that's the thing that's hard. That's hard here because you want to be realistic, but you also have to make the decision for yourself. What do you want out of life? Do you want to think like, and this gonna sound a little morbid, when you're taking your last breath, do you want to look back at your life and say, I've done everything that I felt, okay, you're ridiculous. I haven't done everything that I felt like I wanted to do. I'm lived for myself. I'm happy and proud of what I've done? Or are you going to look at it and regret? One of the things that, like, going back to the Will Smith analogy, is like, I remember when he said his 50th birthday, when he like jumped out of that helicopter over the Grand Canyon, and he was the whole build up to that. And I'm like, yo, I have the utter respect for this man because he's like rebuilding himself in this new age where he's had already had that big success, um, and now he was going back and starting over and essentially in a new realm. And if he can do that at that level, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. And honestly, that idea of he's like, yo, I didn't feel like I was living before. I had all this success, blah blah blah, but like I didn't necessarily feel like I was living the life that I wanted to live. So he's gonna go after everything that I'm like, yo, that is it. I mean, I think more it's about constantly learning. It's about constantly, never giving up, never quitting, never just. I mean, that's another thing. Never quitting is a hard thing to tell somebody who literally you've been at this for mad long, making no money, sacrificing all of this, and you're not necessarily getting anywhere. Never quitting is a hard thing to tell somebody, but the question is, what do you want? What makes you happy? And I want to say that I think that the one thing about the pandemic that was good was that it forced people to start going through life and figuring out what do they want to spend your time on.
Yeah,
Are
definitely.
you just going there and chasing this check, or are you going to do something that you feel happy with afterwards? And to that point, I feel like as a result, we see way more creators. And I know they were saying that like there was a decline of new podcasts or something like that,
Hmm?
because yeah, somebody had put out a story saying that there was a decline of actual new podcasts being created.
Okay.
um, but it was misinformation because yes, we don't have like a bunch of new podcasts because a lot of people started podcasts in 2020,
Right.
and while they were home, but there are way more episodes of their podcasts out there. So it's like we like perfect examples. We rebooted in 2020. Um, then we didn't shoot again for until 2021. So
Hmm.
it's like, but we've been way more consistent in the 2022 and 2023 than anything else. So
Yeah. So my thing is, I do want to go back to the plan A and B, right? Because I do want to be clear, right? I think, at least based off the conversation we're having literally in real time, I do believe I guess I understand the no plan B, right? To a certain extent. Because in my mind, that means go hard on plan A. Go hard. But my thing is in war, which I think life is war, bro. Like I know it sounds crazy, but
That
like
sounds crazy. But okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
life is war, bro. Like you gotta be able to like get through trials and tribulations, right? So I'm like, go hard on your plan A. But in war, if you don't have a plan B, what happens? You lose the freaking battle.
No, well, and I think that one of the key things when we're talking about all of this is perspective. And I think that the people who say no plan B um is that they are saying, okay, well, you're gonna get things on this path that are gonna, change your direction slightly, right? Like for example, going back to my analogy about my parents and saying, oh, you should stop focusing on music so much. Like, why you not stop focusing? They're like, you're only focusing on music. Do something else. And I ended up doing something else that moved me closer in a realm to the video production, which actually got us here. Because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have. I had already done some video production skills, but not. I hadn't spent any time with it, right? So by moving that direction, I opened myself up to more opportunities than I would have had. Now, if I had just said no, I'm only doing music. I don't want to do anything else, then I could have missed opportunities that like I literally I this thing by doing that internship I actually got like awards for my music, stuff like that I would not have gotten um in the past. So if I had not gone that route. So I think the idea is not that you don't go that way, but like if someone responds to something that you do in your plan A, you adapt. It doesn't mean you divert from plan A. So I think that's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
at the core of it, I don't think that is one of those things where you just say, okay, well, we give up. Like for example, in war, if you use war as an analogy, there is only one plan. The plan is to win,
Oh,
and either you win or you lose.
I don't like how
No,
you did that.
this
You
is
set that
truth.
up. You set
It's,
that up. There is only one plan. Yes, the plan is to
it's to
win,
win,
but
and
there's mad plans
no,
in
no,
war,
no.
bro.
But think about it. Think about it from where my standpoint. I'm saying of no plan
Okay.
B. You don't go into war to be like, ooh, damn, bro, this war was kind of this war was kind of not a real thing. So I'm gonna see you later. We're gonna pull out real quick. No, it doesn't. It doesn't really work that way. Either somebody goes in and you fight until somebody loses. I think about it the same way with sports. You don't go like imagine if at halftime at your favorite sports team was like, you know what? I ain't worried about it no more.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I don't think it's a hey, I don't worry about it no more. I think it's a let's attack this differently, right? Because I've seen people, ooh,
Listen, that's not a plan B though. Go ahead.
ooh, attacking it differently isn't a plan B.
No, you're still on plan A. You just plan A has
So
versions.
So
Plan
can we
A
can we can we get a what's that called where you have that top level, then
compromise.
you put a side category into it? Like,
No,
you have
no,
hip hop, but then you have alternative hip hop. You have like the people's plan was hip hop, but they put other categories to compensate for the part of the plan that's diverting a little bit from plan A. So my thing is
but it's
it
not diverting. It's
it's
I'm gonna let you
it's
finish.
even if it's not my thing is plan A can still be plan A, but you gotta have more layers to it. How about that? How about you have more layers to it, right? Because what I'm saying is if plan A was just the win, right? There has to be more planning into the win. So you could have said, hey, I'm gonna win by X, Y, and Z. If that doesn't work, there's another plan, which would be plan B, to get that win.
So let me. I'm gonna shut your whole thing down. And I love that we're
Come on,
having
you got
a whole
yeah, yes.
conversation about
Sorry,
this.
guys, but we got to get to
But
this, man, because
but
like,
life as a creator is like getting in your car and driving to success. Right? You put your navigation on, it says success. Now,
bars,
as you
bars.
start driving, you
Mhm.
realize, oh, that road is closed. So your GPS navigates to the other place. Are you still not going to
Plan
success?
Plan
It's
B.
not, it's not a plan B. You're still
It's
going
a
to success.
it's a
You're
plan B to get
still
to
going
success.
to success. So my thing is when your GPS
Mhm.
recalculates, in your path to being whatever it is, whether it's music, da da. Are you still on path? If you're still on path, you're on path A. It doesn't matter how if the
You're
road
not.
is
That is
blocked.
not how paths
That is
work.
how it works.
Have you ever been to a fork in the road?
Yes, and if you're going to
But
the
you're still
same,
going to the same destination.
and we're
But
gonna
it's a fork in the road.
there's a fork in the road, but if you're going from point A to point B and you're literally drawing a line and there's a
Mhm.
block here and you go this way and get back on the line, you're still on the same plan.
You, you,
Anyway, we
you know
can
how
go
you
on
know how
about
we
this.
you know how we can end these debates. Comment below, bro. Comment below. Is
No,
this not a plan B
no.
if you go to a path that you want to go to and you can't take the path that you want to take? You take a plan B to get back to that path. And that's what
But
I'm saying.
the thing about it is, I mean, we're being very,
Yeah,
like this
yeah,
is
yeah.
ridiculous. But the thing about it is, as long as that's what the no stopping thing is really a thing, because what you can do in the case when you're on this path, whether it's A or the non-existent B path that he's talking about, you can literally say, forget about it and head home. You can say forget about it and head home, and
Hey,
then
you,
that's it.
you know what, man? I don't like that all that zest you got in your voice right now. Huh? How about that? How about that?
But
God damn it.
but seriously, I mean, on a serious note, I think that if you're going on this path and you're on your way to figuring something out, you're gonna get hit with boulders. You're gonna get hit with like it's gonna be something that blocks you. It's gonna be you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like there's gonna be constant things, and it's like how do you adapt and keep it moving forward? And at the core of that, man, the thing is really knowing what you want out of life, knowing that if this is what you want, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that, right? And what is that thing? That thing could change. That's the other thing, that's the hardest thing as a creator is that you can literally say, I want to create a podcast, and you go out and you do your podcast and you realize as you're doing that podcast, I don't necessarily want to talk about this thing in my podcast. Now you've changed your direction. Does that mean you're no longer doing that? No, I think that's part of growing and evolving. um but that's going to happen. So like one of the key advice there is to be sure about what you want to do. Never be positive that you know exactly how to get to that. Always open and be open to the universe telling you this is where you want to go, this is what you want to do, this idea may work for you. And that is hard because it's a weird line you have to kind of live in, because if you're like, I know I want to be the best artist in the world, blah blah blah, right? So that means that I'm gonna do this, or I'm only gonna make R&B drill music, and that I'm gonna do that. You're gonna come to a point where you're gonna struggle at that. Like a perfect example, I think of that was Joey Badass. When Joey Badass first came out, he was like, "I'm
Mhm.
only doing old school type beats." Um,
Oh.
and honestly, he did a very good job of keeping up with that. Because right now, even when you listen to his music, it doesn't sound like he's not on a drill beat or he's not on this, but creating those hard lines around like your craft limits you to where you need to go. And some people could say, well, that is him doing his thing and creating his own niche. And yes, but I think that the key is be in love with the craft and what you're going to do, and don't necessarily prescribe exactly what you're going to do in order to get there. um just it's life. The real truth of this is this whole creator, and this is life in general, it's about the journey, man. It's not about the destination a lot of times. It's about what you're doing to get to that, because the destination is always changing. If you think about it, like I think of what I was at 16 when I was doing music. I was like, yeah,
Young whippersnapper.
I'm gonna be the biggest artist, blah blah blah. The truth of the matter is, I could have been the biggest artist, but I didn't do the work and dedicate myself the way I needed to in order to get that. So you also get what you put in. So
And so my thing is you say, put in the work. I guess where I'm coming from is that's all good until, you know, you lose your car and now you need a new car. You need a new car. I can't do all that stuff I was doing because now I got to do overtime. Now I got to do more things to get this money, right? And I think people fall off not being able to get back on track, right? And so my question to you, what steps can you do to get back on track?
It's a hard one. I mean,
I
honestly,
know it's tough,
it's a hard one,
but
and I tell you honestly, the way that we're setting this up, we're definitely gonna do like part twos or have maybe like a creator um, council that we do on Juxtaposed,
ooh, create a
where
council.
we
I
do
like that.
interviews with other people that kind of go through this too. Because I don't I don't necessarily know exactly what to do. I think the truth of the matter is why is important, right? Figure out your why. Why do you want to do this? Like, are you doing music because everybody said that that's an easy way to make money, or are you doing this because you love it? And if you love it, then you'll find a way to do it, right? And that's the core. How do you get back on track? It's tough, but you have to also be okay when when your route is recalculated, right? Like, so you're still on the road to success, but
Mhm.
when your route is calculated, you recalculated. You have to say, okay, well, I got to do this thing in order to get back to that, right? And that's it.
I
That
like
is the
that.
key.
I like
So
that because I've actually looked at things like that, right? I've looked at, and this is where I go to my like making sure my career is good, right? Because I think my career can fund the things I want to do creatively, right? And ideally, I would like to get to a place where the things I do creatively fund the
yeah,
things I need to take care of. But my issue is those bills do not stop.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, how can I get this career to take care of my bills, but also make sure that I'm getting back into what I need to do, right? So one of the things I do is I take baby steps, right? Now, some people might say, hey, go all out, take the big gigantic step, right? But my thing is, I only have so much energy for certain things, right? So I'm like, as long as, and I think I heard this somewhere, as long as you're spending like 2 hours on something, you're working on it.
Yeah,
So
but
I
two
say to
hours,
myself,
2 hours. How, like, 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week? Two.
we're not even gonna get that deep, right?
Okay,
We can get that deep later, but like just to get the message out there.
okay.
2 hours doing whatever it is outside of the career. Now, that could, man, I've had mentors tell me, hey, just looking up, researching what you're trying to do is putting in the time. Now we know they say, hey, at least for music, like 10,000 hours, right?
That's not a music. That's a mastery. That's some number that they came up for mastering your craft.
Fine. I'm not opposed to it because I've noticed, at least for me, putting in more hours, I get better at things I do. So what I'm saying is the way I vision it is like putting in those 2 hours. And I give it 2 hours. I mean, you can do whatever time you, but 2 hours is enough time to like, I think, focus on what it is. Like you're not doing nothing else. For 2 hours out of that day, you're focusing on whatever you're trying to create. And that can be any because there's baby steps, right? So it can be anything. It could be talking to people about whatever the path is. It could be researching whatever the path is. It could be buying equipment because now, what I'm saying, we're talking cameras, we're talking microphones, we're talking whatever. It can even be locking down logistics to work with people, right? But for 2 hours out of that day, out of all the work, all the kids, all the marriage responsibilities and dating, there's a lot of stuff that goes into living life, right? But 2 hours out of that day, you spend on that focused passion that you have. And I think when you start accumulating that, like you asked, you said, what is that, a week? What? Start off with 2 hours. It doesn't matter. Give me 2 hours. Because my thing is, and I think that applies to like working out too, right? But like, give me those 2 hours and then do whatever you want to, like, stay established and stay paying your bills, whatever. Give me another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, you gave me 4 hours? Give me another two. And that's dependent on your schedule, but always keep in mind, hey, have I spent 2 hours on this thing? And mind you, I'm giving you the number just so you can understand what I'm trying to say. It could be 4 hours, it can be 1 hour, but I think two is a good, because people be doing a lot, right? So 2 hours to get back on track gradually.
Yeah. And
What do you think
honestly,
about that?
yeah, no, I would say that's a good way to look at it. But also know that like that 2 hours, you have to like focus. You
Well,
have to
yes, that's
focus.
the point.
You have to
Yeah.
focus. I mean, you said it earlier, but like that's the hard thing. I know. For me, a lot of times, like back to what I said earlier, where it's like I'm literally getting trying to do
Multi
multiple things at
multi
one time, and it's like
multitasking, yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It's one thing at a time. And it's not that you can't do multiple things, it's that you have to focus at one thing at the time you're doing it so that you're not distracted. Do that one thing to the best of
Yeah.
your ability, go on to the next thing. And that's a hard thing to do a lot of times. But to you made a point earlier about like your dreams, your career funding your dream. And part of the reason why a lot of people say, like go all in and do it is because a lot of times when you have to work and fund your dreams through your career, what you end up doing is trading that time that you could spend on your dream thing on work because it's all about how you transition or how you not transition not the right word how you budget your time. So if you're going to work for like, 8 hours a day, commuting, let's say an hour, maybe 2 hours each way, like that's like 10 hours of the day. Easy, right? But we have 24 hours in the day. So you have another 8 hours for sleeping. So like there's time you can find, but like a lot of times to your point, you say you get home and you're like, I just want to watch TV or I just want to sit down. It's like, well, no, you have to spend that 2 hours. Like we're using the 2 hour analogy now. You got to spend that 2 hours at some point, whether it's an hour in the morning before you get up, before you get to work, or an hour later before you go to sleep.
There
Because
you go. There you go.
you have to find that time. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's easy. Like, I'm not going
Mhm.
to sit here and pretend that it's like, oh, yeah, you just do that 2 hours and everything will be great. It's like 2 hours uninterrupted time when you have family and other responsibilities. It's hard. It's hard. But being a creator is hard. Like, being a
It's
creator
not easy.
being a creator or going after your dreams in general is not easy. And honestly, if you're going down this road, it's literally survival of the fittest, bro. So you got to
What do
make a decision.
you mean survival of the fittest?
Survival of the fittest.
So are you saying that if I'm not fit, I won't survive in making it?
It's not about being fit physically, it's about being fit mentally. If you're going to
Mm.
go after this, you also have to know how to dodge the landmines, dodge the people trying to slow you down, dodge some of the stuff that's like you're with somebody who thinks that you should not spend your time working on, music. Oh, you're 30 talking about music. Like, cut it out. You need to get a good job. Um,
So
you know,
I've heard that. Sorry, I'm about to
yeah, go
get
ahead.
into my venting mode, but I've heard that, right? And so to go back to where I'm like, yo, I do my career and stuff like that, bro. My career, I'm not staking my creating of the music part on my career because I'm actually passionate about my career too. So like because I told you before, my T, right? Tech. I believe that everything I do creatively, tech is involved. Period. So y'all got me messed up if you think I'm just putting my mind on just this one thing. I'm building the perfect me in my mind, right? Like if the music thing doesn't work out, right? And this is the part where I say plan A, play B. I'm not going to sit here and think that like I'm Mr. Superman and I'm perfect and nothing can knock me off, right? But when you have contingency plans and things in place where like if this doesn't work out, you can do this thing and then build it up to whatever you're trying to do on the other side. For example, Kanye West. He started off as a producer and now he's doing fashion. Who knows? Which I feel like was documented. I didn't watch the documentary, but who knows what type of mentality he had when he was first coming in doing producing. I don't know if he knew he was going to be doing fashion. That might have been his passion, but he didn't just. I guess what I'm saying is try to be the best you can at all the stuff that you're doing. Right. I got my career stuff going on, which I feel passionate about, and that's the thing. At first, I didn't start off my career with stuff that I really cared about. I said, okay, if I wasn't to make it with music or podcasting or, what I'm saying, I'd be dancing and stuff like that, what I'm saying, get my pop locking on, whatever it is. If that doesn't work out, would I be happy in my career? And that's where the tech stuff came from. But I'm like, I don't really want to do the tech stuff if I'm working for the man. I want to be my
The
own
man.
boss, right? And hey, we're just chilling here.
Yeah, yeah.
No offense to anybody, right?
The man.
But
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, no, I get that, and I think honestly, using Kanye is also probably not the greatest example, just because
Okay.
he knew he was gonna do music, and his mother supported that he was gonna do music, and when he dropped out of school and he was doing music, he was doing that in a way where to back to my point, there was no plan B, right? And but
Then
people,
what?
there was no for Kanye, there was no plan B. He was gonna do his music. He was producing and
So
he was rapping on the side, but he was doing like
and that's the key. That's where I want to get into. He was not rapping like that. He was producing, and nobody would give him a chance for rapping, and he
yeah,
made that happen. But that,
but
so
it's
you're saying
perspective.
you're saying
It,
that's plan
it's
A. His
it,
rapping was plan A.
no, his being a musician was his plan A,
Mm,
and that's what I said. Perspective is
musician.
everything.
Okay.
Perspective is everything, right? So, and I know that like I said this already, but like to kind of finish out like what you were saying about like the career versus stream thing. I remember a long time ago, my big bro 21 Keys, he was like, people need to accept that success doesn't always look the same. So for you, success is like, hey, I want to have a career in tech because I also it helps me fund this, da da da, and your success should be that. Everybody not gonna be Drake, is what he used to say. Everybody's not gonna be Drake.
Okay.
You don't need to do your music and try to be Drake. Just try to be you. Literally be you in your space, and that's what you give to the world. And I never forget that, because the truth of the matter is a lot of times you spend trying to be what other people think you should be. And
So you're
you
getting
miss
deep.
out
You're getting deep now,
yeah,
Styles.
yeah, but you miss out on the on what your unique gifts are, being you in this world. And honestly, that's one of the things that changed the most for me, and I think it's also strengthened a lot of the relationships that I have, because at one point I used to be the person where I felt like I'm not necessarily going to share my opinion. I'm not going to give myself out there. I'm not going to do that, right?
Okay.
And then I got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to say what's on my mind. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I leave 94% of situations where I never have the regret that I didn't say what I was thinking. Or I didn't get to voice my opinion. And honestly, I prefer that. I prefer that life. I prefer the life where I get to say, well, and I'm not an asshole all the time. Like I'm not gonna say, oh, look at them shoes, boy. What you wearing? Like,
What are
not
those?
not
What
stuff,
are those?
not like that. But my biggest thing is,
Okay.
especially from a creative standpoint, if you come to me and MVP can talk. Like literally, our whole friendship was based on the fact that he came to me and I told him straight up, like what my opinions were. Um,
Keep it real. And this
and
goes back to the keeping it and sorry, because
go ahead.
I lived in the moment. So Styles kept it real, but he didn't do it for at least I that's what I felt. I didn't feel like he was doing it from a malicious standpoint. He was keeping it real, and I think that's what actually started the friendship and bond because it's like, yo, this dude didn't know me from a can of paint. I don't know why I keep saying
What
this.
is with this can of
I
paint?
don't know. I heard it somewhere and now I
Oh
can't
my
stop. I
god.
haven't been around paint in forever. But he kept it real and he didn't do it maliciously, which I pay attention to stuff like that. I pay attention if people are like hating, like the energies, right? So I just want to say, like, I'm sorry I cut you off right there,
No,
but I
no,
just
go
want
ahead,
to
go
say,
ahead.
like, yo, putting that input in helps people grow. That 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 advice and input that you put in helped me grow from because we were talking about music and videos and stuff like that. And I appreciate that, bro.
Well, yes, and no problem. I mean, but the thing about it for me was that it's and I think we're gonna wrap up this episode with the like
No, let's
no,
go on all day.
well,
We
not
can
right
talk about
now.
creators.
Not right now, but I'm saying we're gonna wrap it up with like these are the things that we think that you should think about as a creator trying to go. Like
Okay.
but I was in a unique situation when you came to me with music because that is where I had spent majority of my time. So I knew what you would be going through as an artist to give you like, hey, this is not that. If you come to me talking about like, I don't know, botany, I I can't keep plants to move. Like I don't spend any time with plants. I don't, what I'm saying? Like I have, like, little plants behind me, but like I don't even water these plants. Literally, these will be dead if my significant other did not water these plants, right? But
Mhm.
that's not my area of expertise. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of times you have to be very careful with that. Like, where are you getting your advice from? Are you going through the same struggles with somebody? As somebody you're getting this information from, can they relate to your experience? Um, and that's the question. That's where you should get your information from. So I don't even know where to go. I feel like this has been such like a brain dump on there. But to kind of put a nice little bow on this, the things that I think you
Put
need
some
to
zest on it.
no, that didn't work.
Okay, that
uh
didn't work. Okay, okay. I'm done. I'm done.
I
Fall it
think
back. Fall it back. All
I
right.
think the couple things that's very important as a creator, have you do you have a community of people around you that match the drive and focus you're going on? You need to figure out what success looks like. Whether
For
it's
you.
success, yes, and whatever it is success right now, success in 10 years, success in 2 minutes, right? Like you need to spend time with that exercise. What does success look for you? Um, and at the end of that, figure out where you want to spend your time. Don't multitask. You go through your steps, list out the stuff you need to do, and knock it out one by one. Um, that's my advice because that's the thing that I mean, and there's areas that I struggle because I want to do everything at one time. Literally, I want to do all these things and I get lost in trying to get things done. And I get things done, but I think if I was better at managing my time, I would be a lot further closer to my success. What are your thoughts or what are your points?
I'm glad you asked. So verse
No plan
keep
B. Go ahead, sorry. I can resist.
first keep your zest.
Can resist.
Keep your zest at a nice level. Nah. So one, I would say 2 hours, bro. All of y'all, please just try. I've tried it and I've been able to accomplish some things. So that's why I'm passionate about it.
Two
Two
hours a
hours.
day or 2 hours. I know you didn't give a time limit, but I think having a goal back to my organization,
Mhm.
how much like you are you suggesting 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week?
For sake of the question, right? I would say
I
two
gotta give
hour
you
two
I got
hours 3 days out of the week. Let's
okay.
keep it. And this is I'm very
Minimum.
I'm telling you, you have to get no well, I don't know if people swim out here, but like nobody just jumps in the water when it's cold as stuff, right? They put their toe in it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're having doubt, because I understand doubt and fear is a thing, right? So give you 2 hours, figure it out. 3 days out of the week, right? So that'll be first part. Second part, believe in yourself, even if you don't have that support system. Because I know some people who don't really have that many friends. And I would say if you believe in what you're doing, especially if it's the right thing, right? Like if you I wouldn't say like, yo, if you're out here robbing banks, believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying? Believe you can do it. No, no, I'm saying like we're talking creating, right?
Hey man, that might be their dream. But continue, continue.
And that's why I'm like, yo, you ain't gonna sue me, bro. Like, yo, I'm talking about creating specifically. Like, yo, believe in yourself, even if other people don't. I think that's key, right? And you don't even have to look at it like other people don't. Maybe they just can't even comprehend the level you're on right now, right? Because you're on like God level right now. You're on like a different level. And believe in yourself, put in those 2 hours. If you can, get you a support system, you know what I'm saying, a team that that are like-minded. You know what I mean? That might involve networking and stuff like that, going outside. But
That's a big one.
that's a big one, going outside, right? Networking. So I think with those three things, and obviously keep working on your craft. Like even if you don't do none of those things, continue working on your craft.
Yeah.
Keep working on what you're passionate about. Even if you have to go, you know, dude, what I used to do, I would literally write while I'm taking the train to work. As an example. Just you, train ride is probably like 30, 45 minutes. Get my headphones in and I'm writing. Simple as that, right? Or if say if it's podcasting, hey, that 35, 45 minute, 30, 20-minute ride on the train, think about podcast topics. Hey, you got videos you're trying to do? Think about your B-roll. I'm telling you, bro. Like I'm telling you, like I didn't used to think about B-roll, but now I think about B-roll because I spent those 2 hours every now and then thinking about it, right? So all I'm saying is like, yo, there's many ways to tackle this, but I don't want people who want to be creators because I feel like more people are in the business of being creators and being independent and creating their own brand and stuff like that, man. Just believe in yourself. And I drop the mic. Believe in
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Um, the one thing I want to reiterate from your list was the networking part. The
Ooh,
networking part
okay.
is it honestly, it's an area that I suck at.
Same here.
I'll be honest. It's like
Same here.
I have my crew of people. I have a decent, strong group of people. A lot of people that believe in me, and they say, "Yeah, you got this." Da, da, da. But like going outside and creating that new network of people or that list of people you could tap into for different things, it can make or break your whatever dreams you're doing. It can make or break your career. It can make or break like everything, right? So networking is super important. But in conclusion, this is part one because we're gonna talk about more things, and we're gonna definitely try to find some other people, maybe even some of the people we mentioned in this episode to come in and talk about their um path as creators and entrepreneurs. And I think that it's going to be a whole different series that we do in within our Juxtaposed thing, just because I think there's a lot of people that this we're hitting the mark with a lot of things that people are going through. Um, and honestly, we're talking about creative standpoint, but this could be at work. This your career can be going through the same kind of thing. So, how do you keep that motivation? And we're not going to become, the big motivation guys, but like, how do you keep that
I'll be
motivation?
no, stop. I'll be the big motivation guy because my thing is I needed that motivation when
That's
I
true.
was growing up, right?
That's true.
And I was lucky, bro. Like I've had friends. Like I'm telling you, bro, everybody don't have support systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've had friends and family who believed in me and kept me going. And those certain things, if that wasn't there, I probably would not be on the type of time I am right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to talk about those things. And with what you're saying, like bringing people on and stuff like that, I do want to hear other people's experiences, right? Like especially people I associate with. And that's why I think it's important that we have these conversations and, whoever wants to join the conversation and give their advice and their some of their history of the like trials and tribulations. I probably should put the trials and tribulations as a drink.
Yeah,
Man, I have to do two of these at a time, like zest and trials and tribulations, man. There you go. Take a drink. There you go.
yeah,
He's drinking
yeah,
water. So
yeah.
hydrate. You know what I'm saying? So when you say motivation, hey, hydrate, believe in yourself, and I'm MVP. In that case, it's like, nah, all
Yeah.
right, I'm done. I'm done, bro.
Well, oh, also the other thing, the one last thing that I is also something that I think, and we're gonna have to end this because if not, we're gonna keep coming up with
Keep
lists.
going. Yeah.
But like, take care of your body because
Okay.
if your body's not taken care of, your dreams are never gonna become a thing.
This is
It's
true.
a tough one. It's something I know I struggle with, but like,
Same here.
you got to prioritize that because if you don't, you know, if you don't, if you don't take care of your car, you're not gonna get to the destination. Uh,
Uh,
and
I, I don't know if a lot of people take care of their cars.
no, I listen
But
for a long time I did not, and that's why I'm talking from my personal experience. Like
uh
I mean, I remember one time I don't think I changed the oil in my car for maybe a year, and I was doing miles on it.
shout
So
out to your car, bro,
my
because
car that held me down,
she held you
held
down.
me
Come
down.
on.
But take care of your body,
Mhm.
take care of your mind. You know, make time to make time to focus on your goals
Yeah,
and
creating passions, all that good
um
stuff. Yeah.
oh, yep. So, in order to not let this go on forever, we're gonna cut this off here. Thank you for tuning in to Juxtapose. This has been one of many conversations we're gonna have about creating and trying to keep that motivation going. So, shout out to you if you made it to the end. You're the real MVP. Let us know what you think in the comments. If we're off the mark on any of these things, let's talk about it. We respond to every comment
Every
and we enjoy actually having that
di-
discord. So
dialogue. Okay, Discord.
yeah,
That's a
so
chat. That's a chat.
yeah. Well, all right. Thank you. Peace.